The reality of climate change is becoming more and more urgent every single day.
The future is renewables.
Right now, we're on the precipice of really building a significant new clean energy industry.
I see wind as the driver of an industry that is going to change our region.
This will be one of the biggest construction projects in the country. I think it's going to capture not only policymakers and elected officials' attention, but it's going to capture the attention of the next generation.
For years, we were host to 2 power plants. The larger one was what they called a base loader for the entire New England grid. So it was in the best interest of my town to keep those coal-fired plants going. People became more environmentally conscious, and it became very apparent to me that something had to change. Right off of our shores, people were calling the Saudi Arabia of wind, almost always blowing. I needed to shift my focus and really look at what could be for the town of Somerset. As a former coal-fired plant, we have the infrastructure for 1,600 megawatts of power. So it just made sense to go from what was an old technology to a brand new technology.
Avangrid is one of the leading wind developers of onshore wind in the United States. A lot of it has to do with the backing that we have from Iberdrola. This is a European industry with a 30-year head start, and there's a lesson learned that is really critical for our success. This is an opportunity for us to actually create our own Massachusetts-made energy right here. It's going to power 400,000 homes.
Brisbane Group is developing a submarine cable factory.
We, Avangrid, basically said, if you bring that factory here, we'll deliver the Park City Wind Project and the Commonwealth Wind Project.
The factory will be geared up with more or less 200 skilled people. We're producing cable to transport to shore the power that is generated by the offshore wind.
The cost savings to ratepayers, $1.4 billion over the 20-year life of the project. So from climate to jobs to savings, I mean, this is a triple win across the way.
The United States market in offshore wind is rapidly growing and changing.
Across the country, you're seeing a dramatic acceleration of this clean energy technology becoming more of a mainstream part of our energy grid.
The target of 2050 to become net zero are really drastically boosting this market.
I think on a federal level, during the Biden years, he's put together a pretty aggressive goal of 30 gigawatts by 2030. And so it gives us a little bit of an opportunity to build a bigger project with bigger turbines. It's going to require a new technology, floating offshore wind.
Some people think that wind energy is done in the sense that it's all figured out and all we have to do is make a lot of them. But I think the reality is that there's still a long way to go. We need continued research to develop the turbines of the future. If you can float the turbines, there's a much wider area of the ocean that you can utilize. In principle, you could have wind turbines more like ships, really all over the whole ocean. Offshore wind energy has a lot of potential in the United States. It's going to be one of the major sources of energy in the future going forward.
When we tell the story of clean energy, this is a resource that is cost competitive. It's a resource that creates an enormous amount of jobs. It's a win-win on almost every single front. You know, seeing is believing. Seeing steel in the water is really going to be a transformative moment that's going to accelerate even further the clean energy transition.
I had to be brought along to believe in renewables. I'm evolving from a fossil fuel person to a clean energy person and seeing all that can come of it. The most important part, I think, of the process is people. This is an industry that everyone can participate in. You have to cultivate people who are willing to fight for the process.